The lights of the interstellar Colosseum glared down like artificial suns, casting long shadows over the arena's polished floor. Millions watched from their homeworlds, every species tuned in to the most anticipated event since Earth's induction into the Galactic Assembly. Diplomats sat behind protective transparent steel barriers, their expressions unreadable. This wasn't just a match. It was a message. Commander Riker Stone stood at the center of the arena, shoulders squared beneath his matte black tactical vest. His boots were planted in a fighter's stance, knees slightly bent, as if expecting the world to throw its worst at him. Scar tissue peeked from beneath his jawline, a testament to years of real war. Human war, not these galactic exhibitions dressed up as diplomacy. Across from him stood Unit Zereth Core, the so-called jewel of the Archon Dominion. He was a biotechnological marvel, 7 feet of engineered dominance with chrome-scaled armor integrated directly into his flesh. His golden eyes flickered with disdain, the same way someone might regard a primitive pet making noise. The arena fell quiet. Earth presents its champion. The announcer's voice thundered, translated into thousands of languages. Commander Riker Stone, Special Warfare Division, Earth Navy SEAL. There was polite applause from the human delegation. The rest of the crowd, a sea of Archon loyalists and galactic spectators, remained still. Their loyalty, and perhaps their awe, belonged to the towering figure opposite him. Unit Zereth tilted his head as he stepped forward, his voice unfiltered by translator. "This is your warrior." The words dripped arrogance. Riker said nothing. Zereth circled slowly, boots hissing against the arena floor. "In my culture, it's rude to speak before strength is shown." He stopped, squared his shoulders, and without warning, struck Riker across the face. The sound echoed like thunder. A gasp surged through the arena. Riker didn't flinch. Blood traced the corner of his mouth as he turned his head back, locking eyes with the behemoth who had dared to challenge him on Earth's soil. "You mistake silence for weakness," Riker said quietly. His voice didn't rise, but it carried. Zereth smirked. "I mistake it for surrender." A flicker of movement behind the glass drew Riker's attention for a half-second. General Matheson, seated among the Earth delegation, leaned forward, lips tight. The message was clear: no escalation. Not yet. But the slap had crossed a line. Riker inhaled once, steadying himself. Project Prometheus pulsed beneath his skin like a sleeping dragon, still chained by protocol and political hesitation. Every fiber in him demanded retaliation, but his training held him back, for now. Zereth turned, facing the audience as if declaring premature victory. Humanity is a myth given shape. Fragile, unfit for the stars. Their warriors are legends only in their own minds. The translator softened the words for the galactic feed, but the meaning was clear. Riker rolled his jaw, feeling the bruise begin to bloom. He didn't need to look to know the expression on Earth's ambassador's face. Humiliation, masked as diplomacy. Earth had risked everything proposing this combat demonstration. It was supposed to be symbolic. But this was provocation. Zereth stepped forward again, closing the distance until their faces were inches apart. "Do you feel that, Commander? That pressure in your chest? That's fear. Ancient. Primal. Your species swims in it." Riker's gaze didn't move. "No," he said, voice still low. "That's patience. And yours is running out." The faintest twitch played at the corner of Zereth's eye, and for the first time, his bravado cracked. The announcer's voice rang out again, neutral but loud. "Combat sequence will begin in 1 hour. Any hostile action prior to commencement will disqualify the offending party." Zereth turned on his heel, retreating to the Archon side of the arena with the arrogance of someone already imagining victory. Riker stood still a moment longer, absorbing the weight of a billion eyes. As he walked toward his own side, the lights dimmed slightly. The crowd dispersed into murmurs and speculation. Earth's representatives swarmed the staging room as Riker entered, their voices sharp, but none dared chastise him. "You did well not to retaliate," said General Matheson, voice clipped. "We can't afford to lose this on a technicality." "He struck first," Riker replied. "That's all anyone will remember." "And what will they remember after?" the general asked. Riker looked toward the arena, where technicians adjusted shielding and calibrated gravitational zones. "That we weren't what they expected." He sat on a bench, leaning forward, elbows on his knees. A medic tried to apply a stim patch, but Riker waved him off. The slap still burned, not from pain, but from meaning. It wasn't just a personal insult. It was a declaration. Earth was still viewed as an upstart civilization, and this entire display was a leash dressed as a stage. But the leash had snapped. He looked down at his gloved hands, flexing them once. Beneath the skin, he could feel the biosynthetic matrices of Project Prometheus syncing with his nervous system. The tech wasn't fully tested. No one knew what prolonged use would do. But it didn't matter. He hadn't signed up to be a symbol. He was a soldier. And tomorrow, the galaxy would understand exactly what that meant. A soft chime sounded. The hour countdown had begun. He rose, expression unreadable, and walked back into the waiting dark of the prep chamber. Out in the arena, Zirith was already basking in the glow of spotlight and arrogance, unaware that the next time Riker stepped into that circle, he wouldn't be walking in as a man. He'd be walking in as a storm. And storms didn't ask for mercy. They left silence. The countdown dissolved into silence. A moment later, the arena lights flared to full intensity, bathing the Colosseum in a harsh white glare that erased shadows and mercy alike. The ground beneath Riker's boots vibrated faintly, an artificial seismic pulse designed to simulate real-world conditions. It was meant to level the field. It did no such thing. Riker stepped forward, his frame calm but coiled, like a predator conserving motion. Across the arena, Zirith loomed, armor shimmering with kinetic shields, limbs flexing with fluid precision. His face bore no fear, only anticipation, the look of a being who'd broken 1,000 opponents and expected the same result again. The announcer's voice, redundant now, rang one last time. "Begin." Zirith launched first. The Archon soldier blurred forward with unnatural speed, a fist encased in shimmering energy, barreling toward Riker's torso. Riker twisted, barely avoiding the impact, though the shockwave alone sent him skidding back several meters. Dust flared at his heels. He regained his footing mid-slide. A brutal follow-up came instantly, Zirith spinning low with a sweeping leg kick, reinforced by a pulse of gravitational torque. Riker leapt clean over it, flipping backwards and landing with feline control. He didn't attack. Not yet. Zirith smiled. "You're agile. I expected more bulk from a super soldier." Riker said nothing. He was listening, calculating. The way Zirith moved, efficient, yes, but patterned. Predictable. Flash without purpose. Earth's war zones hadn't been stadiums. They'd been jungles, alleyways, broken cities filled with smoke and fire. Riker didn't need to show power. He needed to wait. But he couldn't wait too long. Each second that passed, the inhibitors in his system strained harder against the dormant Prometheus protocol embedded deep in his spine. They were designed to throttle performance, to make sure the power didn't take too much too fast. But they were aging, cracking. Zirith moved again, this time an overhead strike with both fists, enough force to crater concrete. Riker stepped inside the swing, planting a forearm against the Archon's throat and driving a palm into his armored ribs. The strike echoed like a hammer on steel, but Zirith barely flinched. "Cute," Zirith said, grabbing Riker's vest and hurling him across the arena. He hit the ground hard, skidding into a roll, dust and sparks flying around him. Groans echoed from the Earth delegation box. But Riker didn't stay down. He rose, slowly, wiping blood from his brow. His fingers twitched once. The inhibitors buckled, and then something inside him blinked awake. It didn't roar. It didn't scream. It simply was. The Prometheus code slipped into place like an ancient key turning in a lock. His vision sharpened. Time didn't slow, but everything moved with new clarity. Measurable, dissectable, beat by beat. His heartbeat steadied. His muscles pulsed in tandem with neural cues. Every nerve felt like it had been dipped in electricity. Zirith charged again, but this time Riker didn't move to avoid. He stepped into the attack. The punch came, a crushing haymaker intended to end it. Riker ducked under, pivoted, and in a blink drove a punch into Zirith's midsection. The force cracked plating. The sound was like splitting ice. Zirith grunted, staggering a half-step back, eyes wide with something new. Recognition. Riker pressed forward. He was faster now, more precise. Each movement a weapon honed by thousands of hours in the field, now amplified by technology never meant for public use. He landed a blow to the knee joint, twist, strike, then an elbow to the throat. Zirith reeled, not defeated, but rattled. The audience began to shift. The hum of assumed victory faltered, replaced by the uncertain buzz of something unexpected unfolding. Cameras zoomed in. Commentary dropped to a hush. Zirith's voice cracked through the moment. "What have you done?" Riker didn't answer. He moved again, low, then up, feinting left before striking right with an uppercut that lifted Zirith off his feet. The Archon soldier crashed down, armor scraping against the arena floor in a burst of white sparks. For the first time, the Archon rose slower. Riker felt it now, not adrenaline, not rage, just stillness. Focus honed into a singular purpose. He remembered why he was here. Not for Earth's pride, not for the flags and cheers. He was here to remind the galaxy that humans didn't survive by luck or numbers. They survived because they were adaptable. Zirith stood, spitting blood onto the floor. "You are not what you appear." Riker took a step forward, fists lowering slightly, gaze unblinking. "Neither are you." Zirith's eyes burned as he launched himself in a last-ditch assault, arms swinging, legs kicking, his entire frame a blur of violence. It was chaos, desperate and wild. Riker dismantled him. He deflected, redirected, absorbed. Every strike became a mistake. Every motion telegraphed. Zirith had trained for war in labs, in simulations. Riker had learned in fire, in places where the air smelled like cordite and death had no announcement. A final blow landed, Riker's palm driving into Zirith's sternum with such force that the Archon's shielding failed completely. Sparks exploded across his armor as he crashed backward, landing hard. He didn't rise. The crowd was utterly silent. Riker stood over him, breathing slow, chest rising and falling with mechanical rhythm. His hands were steady, his expression unreadable. Zirith groaned, clutching at his chest. His voice, when it came, was barely a whisper. "Mercy." Riker's eyes didn't soften, but he didn't strike again. Instead, he turned away, walking toward the edge of the arena. Behind him, the once invincible warrior lay still, the echo of his earlier arrogance now a ghost in the dust. Riker didn't raise his arms. He didn't celebrate. He simply exited the arena the same way he had entered, silent, focused, and human. But something had changed, not just in him, in everyone watching. The silence following Zirith's collapse was not mere quiet. It was a vacuum, a suspension of disbelief as 1,000 alien species struggled to recalibrate their understanding of what had just unfolded. In a contest engineered to humiliate Earth, the underdog had risen, and the Empire's most decorated war machine now lay prone in the dust. Riker didn't pause to revel in the aftermath. His gait was even, measured, like the fight had simply been another drill. But internally, something churned, a pressure building in his chest that pulsed in time, with the Prometheus sequence still coursing through him. The inhibitors, now fully bypassed, had given him back more than speed and strength. They had dredged up every instinct honed over years of survival. And they weren't letting go. Behind him, Zirith groaned, rolling onto one side, coughing into the floor. He looked up, blood matting the side of his mouth, eyes wide with something foreign and unspoken. Not just pain, not just shock, something more corrosive. Fear. A pair of Archon medics rushed into the arena, hesitating only slightly before kneeling beside their warrior. Zirith tried to shove them off, pride still flaring, but his arms buckled under the strain. Riker didn't need to turn around to know what he looked like. Broken, but not defeated. Not yet. From the diplomatic box, General Matheson stood slowly, his face unreadable, though the tightness in his jaw suggested satisfaction, carefully disguised as restraint. Earth's delegation remained seated, absorbing the shift in posture from the other galactic envoys. Where there had been condescension moments earlier, there was now apprehension, curiosity laced with something closer to respect, or maybe calculation. Riker entered the preparation chamber and dropped to a bench, breathing slow and deep. His skin still hummed with residual voltage. Sweat clung to his brow, but his hands were steady. The Prometheus protocol was not designed to deactivate gracefully. He could already feel the slow burn of cellular degradation beginning. He bought Earth something today, but it hadn't been cheap. The door behind him hissed open. Ambassador Quan stepped inside, followed by General Matheson. Neither said anything at first. He asked for mercy. Quan said finally, voice low, "Did you consider denying it?" Riker looked up, expression flat. "No. Why not?" Riker's jaw shifted slightly. "Because then he wouldn't be afraid. And I need him afraid." Matheson nodded once, approving but not pleased. "You just rewritten our standing in the Assembly. The Dominion won't forget this, nor will they forgive it." Riker leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Then they'll come again." Matheson didn't argue. He turned toward the arena's viewing screen, where the broadcast played the final exchange in slow motion. Zirith mid-charge, Riker sliding past him with surgical calm, landing a blow that cratered alloy. "He underestimated you," Quan said. "No," Riker replied. "He underestimated us." Outside the arena, the commentary feeds roared back to life. Analysts dissected every frame. Some labeled it a statistical anomaly. Others called it a tactical miracle. A few, mostly human, called it the first real victory of Earth's entrance into the galactic fold. But in the Archon command chambers, the tone was different. Zirith sat on a medical platform, tendrils of diagnostic gel wrapping his frame as medtechs whispered data to one another. He ignored them. His gaze was distant, locked on a screen replaying the fight in a loop. Not the moment he fell, but the moment Riker's eyes had changed. That cold clarity, the way he had moved, not like a predator, but like a decision. He hadn't been bested by a fluke. He had been studied, broken down mid-combat, dismantled like a machine with a known schematic. The slap he delivered, intended as insult, had been the exact spark needed to awaken something ancient in Riker stone, something the Dominion had not accounted for in their grand calculus. Adaptability, a trait their own soldiers, in all their genetic precision, had bred out long ago. He turned to his attending officer. He wasn't just a soldier. The officer nodded. "We've begun intelligence scans on the designation Prometheus." The code inside him wasn't purely human. It bore synthetic architecture, unknown origin. Zirith's eyes narrowed. "Weapon?" The officer hesitated. "Prototype. According to early intercepts, unstable. Potentially fatal." Zirith leaned back, processing. "He used a weapon that will kill him." The officer said nothing. Zirith's voice, when it came, was bitter. "Then Earth is more dangerous than we believed. Elsewhere, aboard a cloaked observation vessel orbiting the planet, a different kind of analysis was underway. Screens mapped biometric spikes from Riker's body, energy patterns, neural rhythms. A figure cloaked in shadow observed the data with surgical fascination. The broadcast didn't matter. What mattered was the pattern, the signature of something ancient rebooted in modern skin. A human who had touched something greater. The figure tapped the console, sending a signal into deep space. Let them know, Earth has revealed a flame. Back in the Earth quarters, Riker changed out his combat gear slowly, each motion slightly more deliberate. The effects were beginning. Tiny tremors in his fingertips, a lingering burn in his chest. He caught his reflection in a polished steel panel. He didn't look victorious. He looked aware. He knew this fight hadn't been the last. It had been the invitation. The Dominion wouldn't stop now. Not after losing face in front of the Assembly. They would come harder next time. Less theater, more annihilation. And when they did, they wouldn't just be facing him. They'd be facing a species that refused to go quietly into extinction. Riker straightened, rolled his shoulders, and walked out of the chamber. He didn't know how much time he had left, but he made sure the galaxy understood one thing. Humans might bleed. They might lose. But they never begged. The transport bay pulsed with a low hum as Riker sat alone, strapped into a reinforced grav chair. The ship's artificial gravity adjusted subtly beneath him, echoing the slight tilt of its orbit above the assembly station. Earth's delegation had requested extraction within the hour, standard protocol for security. But in truth, everyone understood the urgency had changed shape. Riker was no longer just a combatant. He had become a variable. Outside the bay's viewport, stars gleamed in a void too vast to hold grudges, but not too vast to carry consequences. Somewhere within that quiet expanse, retaliation had already begun to form, not in open declarations, but in encrypted communiques, diverted trade channels, and political silence. The kind that came before a storm. Ambassador Kwan entered quietly, flanked by a pair of Earth Fleet security officers who stopped at the threshold. She approached slowly, studying Riker as if seeing him for the first time. Not the soldier, not even the man. Something else. You were supposed to scare them, she said, not wake up old ghosts. Riker didn't look at her. That wasn't my choice. She folded her hands. Is it still active? He gave a single nod. It won't shut off. At least, not gently. Kwan stepped closer, lowering her voice. We've reviewed the biometrics. The Prometheus code shouldn't have survived the dampeners. It didn't, Riker replied. Something else did. That answer hung in the air between them like a drawn blade. She hesitated. Do you believe this was worth it? Riker's gaze slid toward the viewport. I believe they needed to remember what it feels like to bleed. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the subtle hiss of the ship's systems correcting cabin pressure. Finally, Kwan spoke, softer now. They're assembling a tribunal. They want answers. They want you. Riker leaned back, eyes half-lidded. Then they'll come get me. Kwan's eyes tightened at the corners. They might, but not yet. Matheson's arranging to delay the inquiry, stall the Dominion with procedural friction. But that only buys us so much time. Riker's breath slowed. Then we use that time. Kwan turned to leave, but paused at the door. There's something else. We intercepted a signal, short range, directional, encrypted beyond Dominion spec. It wasn't from the Assembly. It was from a cloaked vessel, orbiting near the outer defense net. We're still deciphering, but it wasn't military. It was something older. Riker didn't move, but his jaw set. She left without another word. Alone again, he closed his eyes, but not to rest. Within his body, the Prometheus interface stirred, alive now in a way it hadn't been since its inception. Memories surfaced, not just of training or battle, but of procedures. Those long nights under the scalpels of scientists who asked if he wanted to be remembered or forgotten. He had chosen to be effective. But the cost was catching up. His hand shook faintly now, not from fear, from strain, the kind that tore men apart from the inside out. He wasn't designed to last in this state. The protocol had always been a torch, bright, violent, and brief. The door opened again. This time it was Matheson. The general's uniform was sharp, his presence as steady as Riker remembered from the early years. But now there was a slight limp in his stride, a relic from some unspoken skirmish Earth command refused to acknowledge. "You started something," Matheson said flatly. "They started it," Riker replied. The general approached, hands behind his back. "Maybe, but you changed the tempo. The Dominion was content to box us in, degrade us slowly through diplomacy and token conflict. You just taught them fear, and fear makes empires dangerous." Riker opened his eyes. "So what's your plan?" "We train more. We build more. We lie to the Assembly when we have to. And we prepare for the day diplomacy fails completely." "Not if," Riker said. Matheson gave the faintest nod. "Not if." A silence followed, less tense, more understanding. Matheson finally broke it with a slow exhale. "There's one last thing. You'll be reassigned." "To what?" "A team. Classified. Already forming in the outer belt. You won't be the only one anymore. We've located 2 others who've survived long enough with similar protocols. It's not perfect, but we may have the start of something bigger." Riker blinked slowly. "You're rebuilding the program. We're reimagining it. Smarter this time. Less expendable." He turned to leave, but paused. "When they come for you, you'll have backup. And when you burn, you won't burn alone." The door closed behind him with a final hiss. Riker exhaled slowly, head tilting back against the chair. He wasn't afraid. He was beyond that now. But he was aware, deeply and irrevocably aware, that the galaxy was shifting around him. He had done what no human was meant to do in that ring. Not merely win, but disrupt an order that had calcified over centuries. He had turned a slap into a warning, a beating into a beginning. Out in the stars, Dominion warships moved like sharks beneath a silver ocean, silent and circling. Somewhere, Zirith stared at a reconstruction of his own defeat, analyzing each frame with the obsession of a warrior who could not tolerate uncertainty. Somewhere deeper still, the old Watchers, the ones who had seeded Prometheus into the genome of extinction, took note. But Riker didn't flinch. He simply waited. And when the darkness came again, he would meet it not as a man defending his species, but as a symbol of it. Not because he was born a lead, but because he was built to last just long enough to make others follow.